Looking at the god shop, oh boy. As the name is divine, so are the weapons it has. Odin's spear, Gungnir, has the ability that it never misses its target. Below it, there was Nemean lion's armor. If you don't know, the Nemean lion was a creature from Greek mythology that was so strong that no mortal weapon could harm it. It was killed by Heracles, and this armor could neutralize all physical damage. You think I'm done? No. Next in line is Freya's necklace, which has the power to allow its user to travel through dimensions, and all of these things are in God's shop. Our boy was going through them. Bro can snowball his ops with no resistance. Looking further to get familiar with the store, Udamduk saw he could purchase the power of lightning that Thor possesses. Yes, Bro can decide to be Thor version 1.1. Next, he could gain Hephaestus's power of flame and become one of the greatest blacksmiths the world has ever witnessed. You will be shocked to learn that this was the unemployed person on the streets looking for a job. Next, he saw that he could purchase the power of destruction, which Ares possesses. Nah, Udamduk, at this point, is just Kratos if he is able to purchase these abilities. Even Udamduk was shocked the hell out himself, thinking that if he managed to buy these abilities, who in the world could contend with him in strength, power, or skill? Thinking of this, Bro began to visualize himself as a god in a human body, praised by fellow peasants known as S-rank hunters, who can't understand that his power comes from doing manual work for gods. For that, he had every right to be glorified by humans and collect waifus. What more can a man ask for?
Wake up to reality.
Chinjun was still in his Delulu state, not unable to wait and see the expression of the people who looked down on him. But before he could continue, he remembered that he had bills to pay and switched his number one supporter, his fan on his room. Get it? His number one fan is a fan.
Out of pocket for that shit. Way out of pocket.
No, okay, let's continue. Udamduk, filled with determination, found new energy. He was ready to face his new path and tackle whatever life threw at him. But reality hits like Rise of Kingdom advertisement when Udamduk was alerted by the system, telling him to remove his broke ass out of the mythological weapons and equipment and go and to the normal shop tab.
That one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Damn, thanks for the reassurance system. Really appreciate it. Don't thank me, but understand how broke you are right now that you are making history by your poverty state. This needs to be recorded. You are one in one, not in a million being. This broke at your state is a talent, not a circumstance.
Me personally, I wouldn't take this level of disrespect.
Damn, you need to chill. I heard you that statement. You're devoured my dignity. Damn system. You supposed to help me or roast me? I'm confused. Nah, the things you were thinking of buying like the power of destruction that belonged to Ares cost 70,000 Thors, and you gremlin dare think you can buy them after a day's work. Sheesh, system. Then what can I buy? Said Udamduk, scrolling to the discounted section of the system. That's when he was shocked to his core, seeing he could purchase talents from the system. Udamduk was shocked to see how cheap a talent cost only 12 Thors, which he realized how weak a talent is, and realize how Thor and upper gods are powerful if their abilities cost that much.
What the heck?
Bro, hold the system panel close to his face that even his brain could get a good look. The shop also sell talents. Oh my fucking gosh, this is great news. Indeed, for gremlin disgusting trash like you, this is more than a blessing from recycling a waste like you to being not much wasteful, replied the system.
Emotional damage!
But Udamduk, know his broke-ass situation, knew that his only obstacle was not the talents, but the price of the talent. Looking at an SS-class talent, he saw it cost 12 Thors, like look at the prices so cheap. Did they leave drunkards to ran the god shop because what are these price? Udamduk realized that even gods had a system when he discovered it in the global chat. He noticed that the gods seemed to look down upon talents. Another god, called Holy Toe, you know, the god that created the gremlins that like feet pics, said that the store needs to be updated and should not provide items unless they include things such as talents. This made Udamduk understand why talents are cheap at the shop. Who the fuck do they think they are? Those talents are not less than SS rank level and aren't normal talents. Scroll through the double S talents, looking at which will define his taste. The talent of the sword caught Udamduk's eye, and he was deeply inspired by Zoro. For that, he had to sacrifice his sense of direction. Since our protagonist was from the trenches, no talent, no ability, no brains, and no looks, his brother was nerfed badly since birth. Even the talents they call trash to him were treasures, and in which he was able to successfully purchase the talent of sword, which was a double S rank talent. Suddenly, a bright yellow glow enveloped Yu Damduk. Yu Damduk felt his body undergoing a change. Although everything looked the same and normal externally, internally, he felt his senses had sharpened and his awareness was highly sensitive. Thank the gods. Finally, my weak ass has been blessed. Clenching his fist, he felt the amount of power and sense. A system sound resounded and notified Yu Damduk that, due to this being his first time purchasing something from the system, he was awarded a gift similar to the rank he had purchased. Consider this a reward to help you the poor in soul and in heart. System, you really understand how broke and in debt I am. This is so romantic, said Yu Damduk, when he realized that he had the option to choose a double SS talent as his bonus. Yu Damduk was filled with tears of joy. Okay, system, I will pick the talent of combat, said Yu Damduk, as he clicked on it. Seeing he had gained another double S's talent, Yu Damduk was overjoyed, shouting that finally he has a chance to leave the trenches and have a good life. But that's when he felt a sharp headache, and he felt he was losing balance, unable to stabilize himself. Looking ahead, he saw that everything was fading away, and slowly he was losing consciousness. When he realized he had lost the sense of feeling in his body, he fell on the floor. Trying to understand what was happening to him, he felt that his body was in pain, as if he was mutating into another being, and the pain was unbearable. System prompt told him that it was strengthening his body in order to adjust it to his talent because he was unable to hit the gym. The system increased his lung capacity, and this Yu Damduk felt his lungs were about to burst for the increase in size, causing him to gasp for much more breath of air. But the pain didn't stop from there when the system notified Yu Damduk that he was receiving an increase in muscle strength. Yu Damduk felt he was gonna pass out due to the intense pain, despite being in the brink of passing out and gaining consciousness. 15 times, damn bro, was factory resetting and restarting 15 times. System prompt resounded, telling Yu Damduk his strengthening muscle was successfully, but Yu Damduk was too weka to hear the system prompt when he was losing consciousness. Yu Damduk heard a woman calling out his name, in which Yu Damduk realized it was his mother, whom apologized to him, saying that she was sorry for she hadn't been an incompetent mother and made him suffer. This bad memory began to flash back before Yu Damduk, which he had tried to get over the tragic past and move forward, but seems by the look he had not been able to. Shit, does inheriting talent has to hit that hard that causes me to lose consciousness? What if I gain Thor's abilities and God power? That shit gonna be having me visit Valhalla. Sadi Yu Damduk, having gained back his consciousness, found himself laying on the floor. Shit, what the fuck just happened? It felt like I was being jumped by my own body. Did I see my mom just now? Or was all that I experienced just a dream? Meanwhile, Yu Damduk was in a panic, calling out his status window. A system tab appeared, showing the name Yu Damduk, job, lowest class god, talent, talent of the sword, and talent of combat, both being SS class talents. Lowest class god, so that's why I was able to work in the dungeon, he thought. Who could have thought a talentless man like me would become a god? Life is really unfair and unexpected. Talentless? No, that's too harsh to call yourself, said the system. You were a gremlin, useless, unworthy scum that's now a lowest class god.
Damn!
Thanks, system. Had to ruin the moment, replied Yu Damduk. My phone is buzzing. Who is calling me now? It's Mom. She's calling me. He received the phone with joy on his face, about to tell his mother the good news that he had awakened. But his mother cut him off, telling him not to come to the hospital that day. Yu Damduk, listening to her terrified mother's voice, calmed himself and asked her what had happened. However, the love of a mother is boundless, and not wanting to make her child worry, she just reassured Yu Damduk to listen to her and not come near the hospital. Yu Damduk, still in confusion and not understanding why his mother wouldn't want him to come near the hospital, was about to ask another question when a voice came from the other end, asking if Yu Damduk was the guardian of Mrs. Cho Yunhui. Yes, that's me, replied Yu Damduk. But the next words from the other end told Yu Damduk that they were in a dangerous situation and couldn't tell him the details. What he needed to know was that there was a sign of a dungeon near the hospital. They had kept trying to contact him, but they couldn't reach him. This made Yu Damduk's heart beat faster, feeling the adrenaline rush through his body. The voice on the other end told Yu Damduk not to come near the hospital when they realized there was no answer from his end. Hello, sir? Yu Damduk didn't care what they told him. All that was on his mind was his mother. A lot of emotions flooded Yu Damduk's mind as he thought of his mother, calling out her name. Above the city, there was a military helicopter surveying the area, looking for the dungeon to appear. The sky was filled with thunder, showing signs that a dungeon might appear. The military soldiers were everywhere wearing grade 3 gear, highly defended and carrying firearms, indicating that the dungeon wasn't just an ordinary one. The area had the country on standstill. Even the media was there reporting on the sudden emergence of a dungeon that would appear in the middle of the city near a hospital, stating that the casualties may be higher than expected. The commander of the soldiers told the civilians to get back, as the area was now a restricted zone. We see a taxi approaching at a terrifying speed towards the commotion, and when it got some distance away, our protagonist, Yu Damduk, thanked the taxi driver. He saw the commander on top of the bus, and many people had gathered there. He could barely hear the words of the commander who was on top of the bus. Yu Damduk wondered what all the commotion was about when the system sound resounded, telling him that the combat focus had been activated. He was shocked that he could now hear the commander very clearly, who was shouting for everyone to retreat further from the area. Yu Damduk realized that not only had his hearing been enhanced, but all his senses had as well, when he noticed that his vision was gradually improving, and the commander, who was far away, began to appear closer. He realized he could see him so clearly and vividly despite the distance. "Have you heard that the government is gathering all the hunters in the country?" a voice murmured, which caught Yu Damduk's attention. Turning to see who the people talking were, Yu Damduk saw that it was 2 soldiers talking, discussing that, by the report, that the dungeon this time was going to be so dangerous, and death rates may be higher than ever before. Yu Damduk was unable to process everything, cause he could hear everybody in the area clearly, and talking all at the same time. What is this skill? Why can I hear everyone so clearly, like my senses have heightened? Are this the abilities of the skill I bought earlier? This isn't the time to think I have to get into the hospital, Yu Damduk thought, as he pushed himself through the crowd. Reaching close to the commander, Yu Damduk shouted, he needs to be let through because his family was there, but the commander declined, telling him that there are signs of a maze in the dungeon and can't allow him in. Hearing the dungeon had a maze, Yu Damduk mind rush, thinking that it isn't what he think it is. When the sky suddenly was filled with thunder, this caught the attention of the commander and Yu Damduk as they felt an immense pressure bearing down on them. Their natural instincts went on high alert. A lightning bolt struck the ground with great force, causing a 3-kilometer earthquake. The force from the thunderblast sent normal residents flying, but Yu Damduk stood his ground, covering his face as he struggled against the intense blast. Yu Damduk coughed weakly as he tried to get up. What the hell is going on? Why did lightning suddenly strike? The sound of electrical sparks caught Yu Damduk's attention. Looking ahead, he saw a faintly familiar structure before him. Wait, is this perhaps what I think it is? Yu Damduk muttered, cold sweat dripping down his face. As the cloud of dust cleared, the dungeon was revealed. It was indeed the Minotaur's maze. Hold on a damn minute. Why the hell did Thor deliver this abomination near my home? Yu Damduk grumbled. That fucker better have more money because it looks like I'll be working overtime as a demolition team. Yu Damduk recalled how he had put effort and passion into the construction of the Minotaur's maze. He remembered how everything was coming together and beginning to look quite magnificent. He reflected on the aura of the dungeon, which he was pretty familiar with, and wondered why he hadn't realized it earlier. Yu Damduk, highly alert, asked what was happening. Upon having a closer look, he saw that it was none other than Thor's dungeon, the Minotaur's maze that he had helped build. Yu Damduk, looking at the Minotaur's maze dungeon, asking himself, why would such a deadly dungeon be here of all places in the world? injured civilian cough caught Yu Damduk's attention. Quickly helping the injured man, he asked him if he was okay, to which he replied that they needed to evacuate from there immediately. Yu Damduk's senses, which were now highly sharpened and superior to those of the world's top 10 hunters, sensed an incoming attack, filled with intent to kill. He instantly pushed the man out of harm's way. By a hair's breadth, something passed so quickly between them at great speed and force, surprising Yu Damduk. Looking at what had caused such an attack, he saw, upon closer inspection, that it was a sword that had been seriously embedded in the wall with great strength. This caught Yu Damduk's attention, turning to look where the sound was coming from. An old man said, his voice beaming faintly, "Help me!" while a sword pierced from his back through his chest, causing him to tremble. The weak man fell onto the ground when a huge lizard beast was revealed, withdrawing its weapon. Its eyes were deeply focused on Yu Damduk, as if preparing to hunt him as its next prey. The giant lizard man stepping on the man's corpse, its blade dripping with blood as it approached our terrified protagonist. On the other side, a tribe of lizard men was charging with great force and bloodthirst in their eyes. The army tried their best to keep them at bay as they commenced fire. Guns were blazing at the lizard men, but this proved to be useless and unreliable after killing a few, while other lizard men toughened their scales, bouncing off the incoming bullets. Yu Damduk, seeing the incoming bullets, hid himself behind a truck, shouting, "Hey, you imbecile! Can't you see I am a human being? Or is it that you are so stupid that you can't differentiate between a creature and me? Or is it because I am a bachelor?" But unfortunately for our single brain cell of a protagonist, who hid from the soldiers and faced the lizard men, he saw one of the lizard men holding his sword like a javelin and throwing it with serious force, aiming to kill our protagonist. Yu Damduk, seeing the incoming sword flying towards his neck, felt like he was going to the afterlife. When the system prompt resounded, "The combat focus level A has been activated. You helpless idiot, dodge or we will die." Yu Damduk felt like his senses had hit another level of sensitivity, and everything had become tangible against his skin. The incoming sword, hurled by the lizard man, approached him. Yu Damduk looked at it, seeing the sword that seemed to be moving slowly. Was his mind able to contemplate and receive information faster than a normal human being? His vision felt omniscient, all-seeing, and nothing could escape his view unnoticed. His sense of touch and feeling felt omnipresent, able to sense everything without escape. Seeing the incoming sword reaching close to his eyes, wondering why it had took long to reach him, and his godly reflexes kicked in as he rashly grabbed the sword midair, even shocking himself with the insane feat he had just accomplished. Holding the sword in his hand, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? Did I just do that? Or did my bachelor instinct kick in? The disturbing voices made Yu Damduk alert, turning in the lizard man's direction. Seeing the lizard man aiming a sword at the injured man beside him, this made Yu Damduk call out to the old man, who was in pain, to watch out. But seeing his condition, he knew his warning would fall on deaf ears because the man was already struggling to keep his consciousness and not lose it due to immense pain. Seeing this and having no other choice, Yu Damduk gathered all his strength and charged towards the lizard man, instantly tackling the lizard man with great force, giving the poor lizard a preview of being hit by Truck-kun. Even the soldiers were shocked by the force of impact made by Yu Damduk, who was either a hunter or identified as Truck-kun. After almost one-shotting a lizard man to death, Yu Damduk found himself getting up and surrounded by them, putting him at a disadvantage. His senses coming back, our protagonist knew it was GG for his stupid ass, had rushed out in anger, and now he got himself in a peculiar situation. The lizard man who had received Yu Damduk's Truck-kun spear was enraged because it had shit on itself and almost died from that attack, which could have caused it to die while losing all its aura. "I'm sorry for that attack. It was a mistake. I meant to hit the emote button, but I mistakenly hit you with my ultimate," replied Yu Damduk. "The talent of combat focus has been activated," the system notified Yu Damduk. Due to his first-time usage, he couldn't utilize the skill to its full potential, which was now like an A-tier skill, but when fully mastered, it would reach its normal tier, which is double S tier. Yu Damduk instantly moved on his own, evading the lizard man's sword/attack. Even Yu Damduk had no idea what was happening. It was as if his body was responding on its own. It was as if it was instinct. The lizard man's screech caught Yu Damduk's attention, alerting him to one of them charging towards him. Yu Damduk, still not understanding what was happening, instantly made a quick sidestep, dodging the lizard man's attack from the back. Inwardly, he felt so alive, and at that moment, life, which used to feel like a lucid dream, now felt so lively. Not only could he see clearly the movement of the lizard men as if they were in slow motion, but he also instantly made his move, disappearing from the lizard men's view in an instant and casually appearing before one of the lizard men, who was unprepared for such a shift in Yu Damduk's speed and aura. Yu Damduk recalled that if this took too long, his beloved mother would be in grave danger, and he had no reason to hold back. He decided to go all out, preparing his fist with all the force he could muster. This led him to quickly unlock the hidden achievement of true awakening. Unleashing his tyrannical blazing fist, Sky Piercer, Yu Damduk landed 6 consecutive punches on the lizard men in a split second, unleashing a kill shot on one of them, which was sent flying a huge distance away, all its bones shattered and killed. Yu Damduk's whole body was now awakened. Shocked that his skill had worked, he felt no fear in his heart, only excitement and joy for more. Turning to face the 2 remaining lizard men, he positioned himself in a battle stance, ready to confront them with great force. The lizard men, seeing Yu Damduk's power, had to take him seriously and not hold back. One of them instantly charged for a killing blow, aiming for Yu Damduk's neck, but he easily dodged the incoming attack. To gain balance, he quickly turned to face his opponent, knowing that one lapse in tracking his enemy would be fatal. Positioning his feet as a pivot, he executed a straight 180-degree kick straight to the lizard man's face, instantly killing it. Another lizard man charged towards Yu Damduk, aiming for a sneak attack while he was distracted. But all it did was drag its sword as it charged forward. This alerted Yu Damduk, who turned to see that the lizard man had closed the distance and was right beside him. Not wasting any time, the lizard man used every ounce of its strength to slash upward, hoping to kill Yu Damduk with one shot. But what it saw next was not what it had expected. Yu Damduk made a sensational backflip in the air, looking majestic, leaving the reptile terrified, knowing it had messed up. It had one job, just one, and for that, Yu Damduk came down with great force, reminding this reptile why its ancestors went extinct over the past 1,000,000 years by landing a terrifying technique that absolutely annihilated the lizard man's common sense and its life in an instant. The soldiers were dumbfounded, witnessing the raw strength Yu Damduk had displayed before them. It was quite unbelievable how no human being could match or replicate it. His movements seemed so inhumane, and the only words that could describe it were godly. The soldiers stared at Yu Damduk as if seeing a deity before them, unable to believe that he had easily defeated the lizard men with his bare hands, without even a single use of magic. A figure seemed to be approaching behind the soldiers, who were surprised and relieved to see the mysterious figure arrive at the scene. The mysterious man, with a happy smile on his face, asked Yu Damduk which guild he was from. Yu Damduk, clueless about who had called him, turned to see the mysterious person. The mysterious person was accompanied by a group of people wearing black capes, 2 of whom were with him, while behind them were his guild members, who were swiftly dealing with the lizard men with ease. The mysterious man told Yu Damduk that he was indeed a new face, but also very skilled to be able to deal with the lizard men so easily and without any weapons. He introduced himself as Namgung, the guild master of the Sangoon Guild. Namgung extended his hand for a handshake, and Yu Damduk, seeing this sign of kindness, accepted it. Namgung knew that no guild member would come alone without his comrades, telling Yu Damduk that he was an unaffiliated hunter. "You may say that," replied Yu Damduk. Pointing at his guild members, Namgung gave Yu Damduk an invitation to join them in clearing the dungeon with them. This left our protagonist, whom was not used to being a hunter, but an ordinary person looking at the Minotaur's maze. He knew that if not cleared early, monsters will pour out if the dungeon, increasing the risk of his mother being in danger. His body body was trembling in fear, but he knew he had no choice but to do anything to keep his mother safe. Gathering all his strength and courage, he comforted himself that it will be as easy telling Namgung, "Let's go," knowing if he's there, they have a high chance of clearing it, because he knows every detail and traps in the dungeon, and with that will up the death rates low. At the dungeon, we see them at the cave approaching the dark tunnels, which we had seemed earlier that this was the way he had came with the red auger while constructing the dungeon.
End of flashback.
His hands on the cave walls, Udamduk felt that the creature he was sure Ray were supposed to be here were ahead lacking and waiting and had not began to move. He told the group this was the wag and to follow him. Namgung gave his guild member Ari signal to do it, and his guild member took his knife to mark on Ari wall to give guidance. Udamduk was glad he had the place memorized at heart, because during the construction, he had passed through here hundreds of times. Udamduk, seeing Namgung going forward aimlessly, he told Gum to wait, which made Namgung to wonder, asking Udamduk what was the matter, in which, with a serious tone, told Namgung that he will lead the way. This response didn't please one of the members of the Sangoon Guild, seeing Udamduk arrogance towards their guild master, telling Udamduk to watch his mouth because he was a nobody and had bow authority. Udamduk didn't even respond to that fool's blubbering, knowing you can't feed common sense to a fool, telling Namgung that the path forward had pits and traps, which is why he was telling them he should lead. Namgung thought that Udamduk was bluffing and was worried about everyone walking into a trap, told him not to worry, and that they had sent an advance party to clear the way before them. Udamduk, seeing JT was hopeless to speak sense to this idiots, took a stone from the ground and tossed it ahead the moment the stone landed. Spikes looked like spears instantly came out from the ground and shattered the stone at an instant into dust. This scene made the people from Sangoon Guild and their guild master feel great ingle through their spine, knowing that was their fate the next moment due to their ignorance. Udamduk told them that if they activate RHE trap marks from the floor spear, which are made from special grade alloy neon janvi, they will pierce most armor like butter, and this may be simple, nut, it's much deadly to not suspecting enemy. How do you know all of this, despite we just entered this dungeon? Asked Namgung. This question made Udamduk almost cancel his life subscription that moment. You can say I have high sharp senses than anyone, and Zud feel that the floor over her were lolling kinda sharp. Having evaded the close call, Udamduk guided the group safely, and he suddenly stopped, causing Namgung to ask him what was the matter as he continued to reach out towards the glowing torch. Turning back at them, Udamduk told them that the path forward from here will be quite dangerous, holding the torch high to illuminate the darkness, revealing something that got everyone's attention. Udamduk told everyone to better prepare themselves, and the real fight was about to begin. After passing through the entrance, we see someone crushing a spider to death. One of the Sangoon Guild whom was displeased by the spider's blood splitting on his foot. Another, seeing the rate re-spiders were increasing instead of decreasing after every wave, knew this continued, they will all die. The guy turned, telling his guild member if he was at the briefing, because not only does the spider web act as a network channel among them, but also as a trap to its enemies, but the advantage is that they cab burn them easily. Another asked his member if it's true due to the words said were from our protagonist, and asked if they could really trust him, in which Udamduk, annoyed, told them that G could hear them, despite them trying to whisper. Walking away, peeking ahead with sweat dripping down, seeing the path ahead fill with spider webs, recalling this was their room. He had placed countless spider eggs all over the place. Despite I know those fucking anarchidas are hiding, I can just barbecue them all at once. The Nangang Guild members looking ahead saw the huge spiders, asking they should burn them up, as they apple-roached the torch towards the spider webs and burning them up. System activated the combat focus skill, in which Udamduk's sense of hearing was enhanced, hearing someone calling for help. Udamduk enhancing his sense of sight, trying to locate the person in need, who was calling for anyone's help. Realizing if he burns the spider webs, they will kill the person, and not sure how many people may be there and may be killed by their rush actions, stopping one of the people, telling them not to ignite the webs, which left the man puzzled, telling them that using fire will result to dire consequences and that he had sensed people presence among the webs.
A little while later,
the Sangoon Guild master told his men that signs of human life had been discovered and they should prioritize saving the survivors first, telling them once inside they should form a defensive structure and not use AoE attacks, which may injure or kill the survivors. With a serious look, the Sangoon Guildmaster looked at Udamduk, not understanding how our protagonist could know and locate the survivors so easily, something that many top hunters can't do. But for now, the support will have to follow Udamduk's command. Udamduk was dumbfounded when he was told he would be giving command to the support team. We see a young girl who seems more unique than the rest. Udamduk, trying to decline the offer given to him by Namgung, raised his hands calling him, but was interrupted by a soft, gentle sound calling his name. Turning to see the mysterious girl extending her hand in gratitude, she told Udamduk that she was grateful for him guiding them to that place unscathed and with no injuries, and asked our protagonist to please guide them well. Udamduk just looked at her for a while, trying to comprehend who she might be. Unable to do so, he greeted her, telling her that he would indeed try his best to guide them. She told Udamduk not to worry, to which Udamduk asked what she meant. She replied that he needed to command them and not to worry about anything because the rest would be handled by the support team. Udamduk is asking if it will truly be as simple as she says it will be, to which she answered that it will be simple and asked if Udamduk was about to use a weapon. Udamduk tells her that she has never used a weapon before, and the girl just looked at Udamduk with suspicion. She then turns, leaving, and tells the protagonist that it would be nice for him to at least carry a sword because it suits him best. "I'll be on my way. Take care," she said, waltzing away, while our protagonist just nodded at her. Udamduk tried to understand what her motives were, which made him wonder when he had mentioned his name to her. Everyone was already in position, about to enter, calling out to our protagonist if he was ready. They stepped cautiously into the dark room filled with spider webs, and one of the members of the Sangoon Guild realized how quiet the surroundings were. The guildmaster told them to shush and keep quiet. Udamduk's senses were warning him of danger, and when he looked above, he shouted for everyone to look. They saw huge, humanoid spiders above them, filled with bloodthirst. This caught one of the guild members off guard, who cried out for help. Namgung, the guildmaster, swiftly approached his underling, calling for help. With swift and precise slashes from his double axe, he quickly dispatched the spider, telling them not to be flustered and that they should just follow the plan. Udamduk told them to go into a defensive formation and also to watch out for the spider's paralytic venom, calling for support to follow them. Activating his combat focus heightened his senses, making his vision very sharp and extended as he turned around, following his energy, in which they finally found the place where the survivors were, and they were wrapped in cocoons, in which he called out for the rest to come, cause he had found the survivors. The support swiftly took their knives and began to free the survivors from the cocoons, asking one if the rescued survivors of he could move in his own. Turning around the saw that they had been followed by spiders in which stirled them on. When did they get close without making any sound? Udamduk told them to follow him, cause he knew a safe area close by, and they should follow him. This made the guild master surprised. Having no choice, led the way clearing obstacles as instructed by Udamduk, in which he was surprised on how Udamduk BKT only knew the structure of the dungeon, but also the location of survivors, which made easy for them to rescue them. I knew that this type of ability or capability is unheard of. While in deep thought, he walked back and forth while still on guard. Udamduk continued to call for support to help the survivors. Udamduk gave a paper containing information about where the survivors were, and the guild members guided his people to go and help them. One guild member told Guildmaster Namgung that all the survivors had been saved and that there were some injuries, but their damage was minimal. "Seems we are at a good start," said Guildmaster Namgung, and he told his subordinate to rest and relax for now. Turning to Udamduk, he mentioned that he had some matters to discuss with him, which startled Udamduk, who asked if it was Guildmaster Namgung. Two guild members looked at him as he walked aside with the guildmaster. However, one of the guild members clicked his tongue in disgust at seeing their protagonist receive better treatment from the guildmaster. Udamduk followed Namgung, who led him toward the survivors and told our protagonist that there were 2 police officers and the rest were hunters, with one member being from their advanced party. Turning to thank Udamduk, the guildmaster said that if it weren't for him, they would have been buried by now, which made Udamduk laugh nervously. The guildmaster praised Udamduk for having a full understanding of the dungeon, as if he had created it himself. This remark mark almost made our protagonist's soul depart from his body. In a panic, Yu Damduk tried to defend himself, saying that he wasn't God or anything, and that he hadn't created a dungeon. Namgung laughed, telling Yu Damduk that he was just teasing him. Yu Damduk told Namgung that they should gather their forces and continue. Inwardly, he was relieved for a moment because he thought they were screwed.
A few moments later.
They approached another huge door towering before them with nice and unique drawings. Another guild member asked what kind of words were on the door, which looked like it belonged to an ancient civilization. With a serious expression, Yu Damduk knew the door's entrance, telling them that they were about to face goblins because the drawings belonged to a goblin civilization. Still, the members didn't believe him when he told them. One of the guild members disagreed, saying that it might be a boss room. Yu Damduk knew that through this door, he couldn't develop a foolproof plan for everyone's safety. Having faced the goblins' intelligence, he knew the only hope he had was to focus on combat. Yu Damduk realized that if they all went in, casualties would be high, so he asked them if he could go ahead alone. One of the jealous guild members told our protagonist to move if he was scared, saying that they had dealt with a ton of goblins before. The guild master told Yu Damduk that he couldn't let him go ahead alone. Yu Damduk told the guild master that if they should come, they should prepare to follow all of his orders while inside. Seems you have a plan already. All right, your orders shall be our command. The jealous guild member was annoyed by Yu Damduk, who took the spotlight he needed to impress the guild master. Turning to his jealous buddy, he told him that they couldn't allow Yu Damduk to steal the spotlight, telling the rest of the guild members to keep moving. Opening the door, they saw a huge pathway. Its architecture was mesmerizing, and it seemed completely empty. The room was lit up by fire torches. The group realized that there was nothing there, and that the hall was fully empty and desolate. Yu Damduk silenced the two fools who were yapping without a care. Inwardly, he knew that he had sensed something inside the room. One of the annoyed guild members was pissed by Yu Damduk's words. The first fool told Yu Damduk that they saw nothing, and that the room was completely empty. Was he paranoid or something? The second fool told Yu Damduk to stay behind them, like the coward he was, and hid behind them. The next second, the wind seriously blew, turning off the torch flame. One of the fools shouted that they needed to turn on their flashlights. Hearing this, Yu Damduk turned towards the imbecile, shouting that they shouldn't turn on their flashlights at any cost. The first fool yelled at Yu Damduk to shut the fuck up, and asked how they would be able to fight goblins in the darkness, questioning if he was that afraid of goblins. You weakling of a fool. Stand aside and let the professionals handle this, he said, as he turned on his torch, illuminating the darkness. Yu Damduk's alert senses were at an all-time high, warning him of impending danger. He shouted to everyone to get down as fast as they could. The rest followed. Even the guild master instantly obeyed Yu Damduk's command, but not the two imbeciles, who were dumbfounded by Yu Damduk's false warning. They scoffed, calling Yu Damduk an imbecile and a complete idiot. They walked towards the hall, unable to see anything. The second fool laughed, saying, "See, nothing actually happened." Inwardly, he was relieved that he had been tense for nothing after Yu Damduk's warning, but something seemed wrong when he realized the first fool wasn't moving and was standing still, asking him what was wrong. The first fool turned to look at his friend as if to ask him if he saw the problem. With a swift sound of approaching danger and slicing with insane speed. This scene shocked everyone to the core, making them wonder what had just happened and how that guy was killed so quickly that not even the killer was seen or even sensed by them. They knew that this was no longer their typical goblin. The body of the first floor dropped, hitting the floor and dropping the flashlight. The other guild members were in a panic, asking where the arrows had come from and if it was an ambush. If it was, they were not able to see anything or where the attack had come from. Namgung shouted that everyone should not move an inch or a single bit, and to relax and keep their composure. This warning brought the members of his guild back to their senses, and they kept calm, but were trembling with nervousness. The guild master turned to ask Yu Damduk what the reason was for telling them not to turn on their flashlights. Yu Damduk replied affirmatively, stating that the enemies would attack in the direction of the light. The guild master asked if the enemy had heard them enter the room and why they weren't attacking him. With an ominous look, he told the guild master that they enjoyed playing with their prey, informing Namgung that the enemy relished the sight of them fearing in the darkness. The guild master wasn't just going to accept his fate of sitting in the dark and waiting for his death. He would take the risk of using his flashlight, sustaining little damage but able to take down his enemies. Yu Damduk suggested that they could find a way to fight without being able to see their enemies.
Is this nigga serious?
How is that even possible? Asked the guildmaster, to which Yu Damduk replied to leave it to him as he heightened his sense of vision. He casually stood and began taking slow but precise steps forward. He told everyone that even though they felt nervous and couldn't see anything, he would do everything in his power. Until then, he needed them to not move or make a single sound. Taking deep breaths, Yu Damduk closed his eyes to concentrate and remember the sensation he felt while in deep concentration. Activating his combat focus skill. He felt the structure and his surroundings so clearly and vividly that it was almost better than actually seeing. When he sensed a goblin jumping towards him, activating his movement speed, Yu Damduk turned around at terrifying speed. The sounds of fighting in the background and the godlike speed moving beside them caused the wind to blow, surprising the second fool and the guildmaster, who was astonished at how Yu Damduk could fight in pitch darkness and with such speed. Despite not seeing, he could feel a presence beside him moving so quickly that he was unable to keep up with the sounds, experiencing a sound delay. Still in a daze, he heard Yu Damduk telling them that they could now move and turn on the lights. When they did so, they saw Yu Damduk holding a goblin, and beside him were dozens of them lying on the ground dead. The goblin was beaten up to the point of crying, but Yu Damduk wasn't going to show mercy and instantly snapped the goblin's neck. Walking away, the second fool couldn't believe how Yu Damduk was able to accomplish such a feat, making him wonder what kind of tricks Yu Damduk used to kill the goblins. The fool was annoyed, thinking that if he had time, he could have dealt with the situation much easier, and saw Yu Damduk as his stepping stone towards impressing him. The guildmaster excitedly told Yu Damduk that he was impressed by his speed and talent. Never in his lifetime had he ever met anyone who could match his skills. Yu Damduk laughed it off inwardly, saying that even he didn't know he could move like that, and that when danger kicked in, his body moved and reacted on its own. He asked the guildmaster if they could continue. They approached another huge door, but this one wasn't like the normal ones they had faced before, because this type of door was big and instantly huge. Someone asked what he thought was behind it, to which Yu Damduk agreed, saying that this was indeed the last point in the labyrinth, and that this was truly the boss room.
As the door to the boss dungeon creaked open, the sound echoed ominously throughout the room. Namgung remarked that he couldn't see the boss, suspecting it might be hiding. However, Yu Damduk pointed out that the boss was right before them, the absolute ruler of this dungeon. Namgung's excitement grew as he felt the intense pressure emanating from the Minotaur. Seeing that the boss wasn't making the first move, he mentioned that this moment was perfect for strategizing. Just then, Yu Damduk received a system prompt alerting him that a sacrifice was required. This revelation stunned him, and he struggled to grasp its meaning. As he observed Namgung organizing his guild into groups, Yu Damduk realized he was the only one who could see the prompt. Realizing there might still be a chance for a safe walkthrough of the dungeon, he called out to the guildmaster, who initially brushed him off, focused on forming a strategy. But when Yu Damduk mentioned he might have a solution, he finally caught the guildmaster's attention. The second fool in the group was seriously displeased, suspecting that Yu Damduk was trying to steal credit from their guildmaster, Namgung. Unable to tolerate it any longer, he stepped aside and approached the boss. Noticing that the boss wasn't reacting, he pulled out a crossbow. In his mind, strategies were for losers when you could just take down the enemy in one shot. He aimed at the boss's head, activating his F-rank talent, as if an F-rank skill would help him clutch against a boss. Still, he kept trying to get closer, his mind fixated on the idea of just needing a little more proximity. Yu Damduk noticed that the second fool had crossed over the boss's barrier and yelled for him to stop. This only infuriated the second fool, who shouted back at Yu Damduk, accusing him of trying to steal his credit. Fueled by his anger, he then brazenly challenged the boss, shouting, "Come and defeat me!" The system alerted Yu Damduk that the fool had trespassed into the boss room, triggering a random scapegoat selection. Shocked by the unexpected turn, Yu Damduk felt the overwhelming pressure that descended on the room, causing the guild members to panic and cry out for help. The second fool, an F-rank, was overwhelmed by the pressure, unable to move or breathe, and was on the brink of death. As the designated scapegoat, the second fool had been chosen for sacrifice. Namgung, annoyed, asked the fool if he knew what he had done, but looking ahead with terror, Yu Damduk told them it was useless to argue now. The Minotaur boss, enraged, instantly entered a berserk state, letting out a loud growl that dealt mental damage to everyone. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the second fool tried to crawl backward, but felt resistance from the barrier. He banged on it, yelling to be released from the dungeon. The boss instantly charged at him, prompting Namgung to leap into action. He saved the fool just as the boss crashed into the barrier with a loud thud. Facing the opponent, Namgung ordered his team to widen their formation and not to panic. Drawing his dual-bladed axe, he rushed toward the boss, instructing his team to proceed with the strategy. As he closed in, he saw the Minotaur boss about to strike. Namgung swiftly dodged the attack, which seemed slow to him. He launched forward, slashing down with his Supreme Dragon's Claw dual bone technique. As the Minotaur boss was still dazed from its heavy attack, the guild members, seeing the blow land, praised their guild leader for his top-notch strategy. Even Yu Damduk was impressed, realizing how Namgung operated on a completely different level. However, something was wrong. The attack only grazed the Minotaur boss, as if it had struck steel armor rather than leather skin. "Watch out, Namgung!" shouted Yu Damduk. Seeing the incoming attack, Namgung quickly performed a backflip, ensuring he gained distance to rethink his next move. Holding his bleeding arm as blood oozed down profusely, he knew any mistake or miscalculation could lead to instant death. He ordered his guild members to deploy an enclosing formation. The guild members responded swiftly, gathering information on the boss's weaknesses without interfering directly. Yu Damduk was impressed by Namgung's precise and clear command, showing how much of a veteran he was in the dungeon. It seemed to be the best strategy they had right now. Yu Damduk realized that the boss wouldn't attack the scattered guild members as long as they kept their distance. However, as the boss raised its weapon, accompanied by thunderous sounds and lightning, Yu Damduk's skull tingled with a familiar sensation. This was the technique that had once teleported him back to Earth. Namgung told his guild members to brace themselves as the boss was about to use a disrupt attack. Seeing this as his chance to close the distance, he instantly rushed toward the Minotaur boss. "Don't attack! It's a trap!" yelled Yu Damduk, but Namgung didn't heed his warning. Realizing he had been baited, Namgung knew he had no choice but to take the attack head-on. Fortunately, Yu Damduk rushed in with a devastating flying kick, instantly interrupting the Minotaur boss's attack. Using almost all his strength on that kick, Yu Damduk locked eyes with the enraged Minotaur as it reactivated its thunder attack. Yu Damduk realized it was too late to dodge. A massive thunderous explosion erupted, launching everyone away. The guild members couldn't believe their guildmaster had fallen. As they debated whether to back him up, the second fool, in a panic, pleaded with his teammates for help. In pain, Yu Damduk cursed the Minotaur, lamenting how, despite his shitty life, he had finally acquired a talent, only for it all to be wasted in this moment. Touching a weapon before him, Yu Damduk smiled, realizing he hadn't tried something yet. Excitement visible, Yu Damduk asked the Minotaur if Thor had castrated it, causing its high temper. "I didn't endure all this hustle to lose it all here," Yu Damduk muttered, his voice filled with resolve. With a gentle swing that seemed to echo the gravity of the cosmos, his action didn't escape the Minotaur's gaze. "Brace yourself, you Johnny Sins of a cow," he sneered. "I'm going to finish what Thor couldn't, and I'm going to cancel your eternal subscription to masculinity. Yeah, I'm chopping your schlong off." With those words, he activated his sword talent, a double S-rank ability. Hearing this, the Minotaur's rage intensified. It wasn't going to let that insult slide. Seeing Yu Damduk with a sword, Namgung knew the boss could never be cut down by a rookie like him. He tried to shout, to tell Yu Damduk to run away, but the words wouldn't come out. He cursed himself for not heeding Yu Damduk's earlier warning. Then, with a swift and unmatched cut, Yu Damduk left everyone dumbfounded. The sheer speed and precision of the strike left even the Minotaur boss in disbelief. It felt something was missing. A part of its body had been severed, and it couldn't quite comprehend what had just happened. At first, it was a gamble, but the instant I got hold of a sword, it felt like my senses and perception sharpened. And now, I can cut down this fucking beef because I'm starving. Yu Damduk felt his body acting on its own. With a smile on his face, he realized that choosing the sword talent was the best choice. Minotaur's boss was very enraged, charging head-on, ready to kill Yu Damduk, When he turned to see the incoming castrated cow, with a great slash downwards, he was surprised to realize that Udamduk had disappeared. Suddenly, the Minotaur felt deep cuts all over its arms, with blood oozing from multiple wounds. It stood there, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Namgung was dumbstruck, unable to believe what he had witnessed. It was as if a deity had awakened within Udamduk, enabling him to execute 6 consecutive attacks in a split second. Even so, the strikes, though impressive, were too shallow to be truly effective. Udamduk realized that the Minotaur boss was indeed a formidable creature, worthy of being forged by Thor himself. The second fool shouted, mocking Udamduk's efforts, claiming that his skill was useless. Annoyed, Namgung silenced him, turning his attention to Udamduk. Those were incredible attacks, he said, praising him. For the first time, he acknowledged Udamduk's abilities, recognizing that our protagonist indeed had the skills to stand among them the top rankers. But there was one problem. Udamduk's sword wouldn't last long. Seeing this, he gritted his teeth, frustrated by how weak the weapon was. After just one powerful attack, it wasn't able to withstand his strength. Knowing this, Udamduk planned to aim for the Minotaur's vitals in one decisive move. With great force, he moved toward the Minotaur, breaking the sound barrier as he closed in. Predicting Udamduk's next move, the Minotaur launched its attack, but Udamduk swiftly dodged, grazing past its strike. He retaliated with a devastating slash to the Minotaur's chest, but to his dismay, it barely made an impact. Determined, Udamduk aimed for the Minotaur's eye, throwing his sword with precision. The Minotaur dodged, only to be met with a powerful kick to its chin, shattering its jaw and sending it airborne, the force so immense that it left the Minotaur suspended in a pose reminiscent of Gojo's iconic stance. Catching the falling blade in his hand, Udamduk knew this was his chance. With the Minotaur momentarily defenseless, he prepared to strike. Sensing the danger, the Minotaur unleashed an AoE skill, catching Udamduk by surprise. He was launched back, struggling to hold his ground as he braced against the shockwave with his sword. With each second that he used his skill, the sword began to shatter. Udamduk realized that time was running out. He had only moments left before his weapon would be completely destroyed. Realizing the sword was at its limits, hoping that his next attack would land no matter what, Udamduk looked at the slightly weakened Minotaur boss and realized that there was an opening. Namgung recognized that this was the AoE skill the boss had used earlier, which caused serious damage. Unleashing his godly technique aura, the presence of the sword god, Udamduk changed to that of a harbinger of death, the undefeated sword. The influx and pressure of aura from Udamduk and the boss made Namgung feel frightened, as no human being could withstand such terrifying pressure generated solely by their will to kill. Pondering how to help Udamduk, he recalled that Udamduk had told him how he could fight without seeing. Turning to look at the second fool, he thought that if he could help Udamduk, it was his chance to shine. Meanwhile, Udamduk was channeling all his killing intent, which was as vigorous as a rampaging tide of the sea, yet calm and soothing at the same time. Having imbued his weapon with his unworldly energy, he knew this time he was just going to focus on the vital point at once. Everything seemed to have slowed down, except for the two opponents having a standoff and preparing to engage against each other, with the Minotaur unleashing Thor's rampaging thunder to rush forward. Udamduk, the same, charged towards the Minotaur's boss. Both entities, with devastating speed, were about to clash and end the battle with a single move, each using their strongest attack. With great might and strength, Udamduk made an upper slash that sliced the Minotaur boss, with tofu blood splattering out as his blade snapped before his eyes. He could not believe his sword had reached its limit, yet the boss was only injured, giving up, and waiting for his death, with all hope lost from his body. The Minotaur boss brought down its axe with serious thunder energy, about to kill Udamduk. His hands, wide open, felt as if he had a sword in his arms once again, which was the second fool who had thrown the sword that perfectly landed on Udamduk's arm. With newfound strength and energy, Udamduk told the cow, "Time to get castrated." No, Thor did that. Time to make it lose its manhood. "Get rid of the boss!" the rookie shouted. Udamduk vanished, and with a loud explosion, the battle had concluded. Outside the dungeon, the crowd had gathered around the gate, which was late in the day. The crowd was about to leave, losing hope that the guild may not clear the dungeon that day when they realized that people seemed to be emerging from the dungeon. Everyone, not believing that they were truly outside the dungeon, Yu Damduk asked the guildmaster how he knew he could catch the sword behind his back, replying to Yu Damduk that he had told them he could fight without seeing, so he had no choice but to take a gamble. Laughing nervously, Yu Damduk thanked him for almost making him a meat skewer, thanking Namgung for saving all of them, which he declined, thanking Yu Damduk for saving all of them countless times, in which all the guild members joined in, thanking Yu Damduk for saving them from death despite their rudeness. Namgung nudged Yu Damduk, saying that the people were waiting to interview him, the #1 contributor. Not believing what he had heard, Yu Damduk asked Namgung if he was truly the #1 contributor. Recalling how his entire life he had been looked down upon because of his lack of talent, things seemed to have changed. Holding back his tears, Yu Damduk raised his hands higher, signaling to the citizens that they had succeeded in raiding the dungeon.